I would say developing relationships was what really acted as a catalyst to everything that we've done. I mean, this is a team sport. You don't do this by yourself. We all start academically, right? We get all the books, we get in the Excel sheet, and we think we're going to do everything ourselves. And then all of a sudden, you realize someone has already built this wheel, right? And you can be a part of that ride with that person who's already developed those relationships.
Welcome to the Physicians and Properties Podcast, the show where we teach you how investing in real estate can give you the freedom to practice medicine and live life how you want.
Doctor!
Now, here's your host, Dr. Alex Schloe.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Physicians and Properties Podcast. I'm so glad that you're here listening to another episode with us. Today, we bring you a really cool episode. This is actually a first for the Physicians and Properties Podcast. We had two guests on the podcast today, a husband and wife team. And boy, it was a great episode with a whole lot of value to learn. Dr. Francesca Byrne and her husband, Ryan Byrne, joined us on the podcast today. Dr. Byrne is a practicing pediatric cardiologist and a busy mother of three who knows firsthand how hectic life can be and practicing medicine can be, who joined forces with her husband, Ryan Byrne, who was a former Marine who got his MBA in finance and worked in investment banking in Manhattan, and then got into real estate. They decided to join forces and create the Cashflow Capital Club, where they're driven to help people achieve financial freedom by providing solid multifamily-based investment opportunities in an environment of dependability, trust, and absolute clarity. Guys, it was really evident during this podcast, one, how well they work together as a team. And this was really cool to see how a husband and wife team can work together and have complementary skill sets to succeed together in investing in real estate. So if you're thinking about, hey, how can I get my husband on board or my wife on board and get them involved investing in real estate, this is the episode for you. If you're interested in learning about how they scale from single family homes to multifamily deals where they're buying hundreds of units, and learning about the nuts and bolts of how to build relationships with brokers, how to buy these large unit portfolios, and how to operate them and find good property managers, this is for you. This episode has something for everyone, I guarantee it. So if you learned something from this episode, do me a favor. Give us a 5-star rating and review and share this with someone who will gain value from it as well. That's how this podcast grows. That's how we can impact more physicians. So without any further ado, let's get started with today's episode with Dr. Francesca Byrne and Ryan Byrne. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Physicians and Properties Podcast. This episode is really cool because we have two guests. Dr. Francesca Byrne and her husband, Ryan Byrne, have joined us today for this episode. It's going to be a great one. So we'll go ahead and get started. How are you guys doing tonight?
Fantastic. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're super excited.
Yeah, this is the first podcast we've had two guests, so this will be fun. Looking forward to it. You guys complement each other quite well, of course, and so it'll be really fun to hear how you guys invest together, work together from a real estate perspective, and really looking forward to it. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a pleasure.
Awesome. Well, if you don't mind just kind of sharing a little bit about yourselves with the audience, that'd be fantastic.
So I think I can start because I'm sort of the physician part of this team. So I'm a practicing pediatric cardiologist. I work full time, mother of three. I met Ryan when I was in med school, actually, but we started investing probably about 10 years ago, and we'll kind of get into where we landed now. But, it started for me as a way just to put my money somewhere. I started off doing more kind of the stock investments type of stuff. Started kind of early in residency with that, but then started to see some of the gains and potential that real estate had, and then kind of didn't look back from there. But yeah, work full time, and then we invest full time as well. So I kind of have two full-time jobs, and then I'm off full time. So
yeah,
it's busy, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, you have three full-time jobs, especially a mother to three. How old are your kiddos, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, they are 11, 7, and 5.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, definitely a full-time job as well.
Right. Yeah, we're
awesome.
in it. We're in the mailroom, as you say, with the kids still, but it's fun.
Absolutely. Ryan, how about yourself?
I had my background in finance. When Francesca and I met, she was doing residency. I was doing investment banking in Manhattan. working, putting the nose to the grinder, long hours, wanted to do something more entrepreneurial. And that's what led me to real estate. Started on the sales side, but I had always been an investor and started investing in real estate. And then soon we got into multifamily, which included apartment buildings, small apartment buildings. So we transitioned from investing in things that everyone invests in, like single family, and now we invest in small apartment buildings. And Francesca has always been a part of our, I guess, an investment lifestyle, if you want to call that. Once an investor, always an investor. She's always been a part of that with me. And we've been in that journey together.
That's awesome. It's really cool how you guys are able to kind of merge together and form this company. And, I'm sure, Ryan, you got a ton of experience in the finance world working in Manhattan with commercial real estate and exposure to that. So kind of a merge of the minds, I'm sure, is really helpful and great that you guys are a team, and really cool for folks to hear and see, a husband and wife team who are really crushing it together. So that's why I was really excited to get you both on the podcast today. Francesca, it sounds like you were pretty financially savvy, even, in med school and residency, like investing in stocks and so forth. Where did you get that initial financial education, or was Ryan really helpful with that for you?
Yeah, I would say he was pretty instrumental in that. Definitely was giving me books to read, Rich Dad, Poor Dad type of thing, and trying to educate me and get me on board with that. And so really I do credit him for getting me interested in it, not only interested, but then active in it.
Yeah, I think the first part was just getting started. Just start doing it.
Doing something.
Like go to Fidelity, do a drip. Open up an account, get those monthly allotments started. Like become an investor.
Right.
And I think from there it just sort of, once you can see it, you start doing it, and you start realizing the benefits, the education kind of along the way.
Yeah, and I started off small, but I would look at the Motley Fool or whatnot, try to find those hidden gems, and then every once in a while one would pick like Netflix or something, and that would get me excited. But
that's awesome. Yeah. Well, I haven't had as much luck with individual stocks, that's for sure. But, but that's how it goes sometimes. And unfortunately, was not part of like the Dogecoin train and everything. I had a buddy who I think he put like $500 in Dogecoin and it turned into 40,000. And then he bought a small multifamily property with that, actually. And so I've never been that lucky, but I don't think he will be again.
That's a diamond dozen, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Well, how did you guys get started in real estate specifically? What did that initial start look like for you guys?
When I made the transition from finance into real estate, is more on the sales side to get closer to the action. I thought being on the sales side at the forefront of where transactions were happening would give me exposure and access to deals. Not really so much the case. But it started the process in buying single family homes in areas where we knew the appreciation was. So that's kind of where we started. Then you quickly hit a threshold. There's a little thing called the debt to income ratio, right? Which your income that we were earning in our W-2s determined how much we could borrow. And we're normal investors, just like everyone else. We're putting 20% down, 25% down, borrowing the rest. We could buy 4 single family homes before we hit that ceiling of the debt to income ratio. And the lender basically said, it's like, listen, if you guys want to move into a bigger house to accommodate these children that you're having, you can do that, but you're not going to be able to buy another investment property. Like, why not? We have the money in the bank and we're ready to go. Like, why are you getting in our way? And then, that's when everything came to light, and our personal balance sheet was highly leveraged, and we were forced to look at other options, and that included multifamily, especially in the commercial multifamily space. And lending on the commercial multifamily side works a little bit differently than it does on the single family side, in that the lender is primarily concerned with the income being produced by that asset itself. And that's what determines how much you can borrow, in addition to some other things, but it's no longer a debt to income ratio thing. So we could put to capital to use that way. And that's kind of how our transition started. It's a little bit of a forced process, but thankfully,
I'm glad that we were forced, I guess.
It opened our eyes up to a much better, smarter way to invest our capital.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and buying some of these apartment buildings is probably just as difficult as it was to buy one single family house, but you have the economies of scale. Is that correct?
Yes, there are some benefits and similarities for both, I would say. On the commercial side, access is key. Getting access to the deals that make sense in cash flow and that every investor will want to participate in, the fair amount of networking with brokers and those relationships have to be nurtured and developed over time. It requires networking with owners themselves, going direct to owners. So the good ones aren't really found on Zillow or on LoopNet. They're sort of just a phone call that you have to receive, and you don't get that phone call unless those relationships have been developed. But I mean, people have been frustrated in the single family space as well. I mean, you're out there. How many weekends can you afford to give up to get in your real estate agent's car? You finally find the one that's going to make this perfect Airbnb or rental house, or maybe a property you could live in that you'll turn into a rental later, and 20 other people want the same property because it's in that same area. And it's a small 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And,
It's happened to us, by the way, many times.
It's happened to our clients. It's happened to our friends, which is why what we started is so important to us, is because now that we have access to these deals, we can open it up to people in our network who have the same common goal of capital preservation with returns, removing speculation in things that we all understand. We don't have to participate in that roller coaster ride of investing in stocks or investing in the market, speculating on what the future might bring. And we get away from the speculation of single family investing too. It's like, what did this house next to me sell for? Did I make a good investment or did I not? When are the comps going to go up? Because that's going to tell me how good of an investor I am. We can get away from all that and do things that have more certainty. And that's why this was a big deal for us, and why it was so well received, first with our friends and family, and now to me more outside of that.
I was just going to add that when we first started, our hand was kind of forced, like we talked about, we started on the passive side. We had joined some other kind of multifamily operators, and that's how we learned and saw how it was done, saw the potential. But that's also how we met people that are now part of our team that help us do it. So we did that first, and that really opened our eyes to a lot of things. And now we have a lot of great individuals that we work with to put these types of deals together, because it's not something that 1 or 2 or even 3 people could really do by themselves, at least the size that we are looking at.
Yeah, it's definitely a team sport, and investing first with individuals who we liked and trust is kind of what started all of this.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Well, I wanted to hit on a couple of things you guys said. First was access. Do you have any tips or tricks for someone who's getting started, who wants to build relationships with a broker, build relationships with owners? Anything that you guys found that was really valuable for you in that regard?
Yeah, you want to go with that? Or it's a lot of phone calls. It's a full-time job. I would say developing relationships was what really acted as a catalyst to everything that we've done. I mean, this is a team sport. You don't do this by yourself. We all start academically, right? We get all the books, we get in the Excel sheet, and we think we're going to do everything ourselves. And then all of a sudden you realize someone has already built this wheel, right? And you can be a part of that ride with that person who's already developed those relationships. But if you've been close to sales or know what sales is, I mean, you have a Rolodex, and you hit everyone in that Rolodex at a set amount of time. And that is relationship building. Brokers start taking you seriously when they receive your 20th offer, your 30th offer. And it happens over the course of a year or more. The hotter the market, the longer that is going to take, the more offers you're going to have to submit. That's the truth of it.
Yeah. There's no shortcut or secret, unfortunately.
It wasn't for us. Our partners had developed many of those relationships and did a lot of the groundwork that we're benefiting from today. In many cases, a deal, once you do get started, a deal can lead to another deal that can lead to another relationship. I mean, opening up an account in Charleston led to 2 deals in Mount Pleasant because that banker had a relationship and he offered the introduction and we got access to 2 deals that weren't available to anybody else. So it's things like that. Once the ball gets rolling, it's fascinating what can happen.
It's just putting yourself out there, and putting in the
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, absolutely. Networking is so important, and you never know what door is going to be opened by a relationship or a conversation. And, you hear all the time about people who go to the gym and, the guy next to him, they tell him, "Hey, I'm investing in real estate." Next thing you know, it leads to this deal. It's happened.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I had a shirt that said Cashflow on it. And a guy came up to me. It's like, "Oh, you listen to so-and-so?" And it's like, "Well, I invest in real." And the next thing you know, a month later, we're having lunch together, looking at deals together. He's a developer. I'm a multifamily operator, and that's how it works sometimes.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. It's really cool how, those relationships get put in your life one way or another and can lead to big things. So that's really cool. The next thing that you guys mentioned that was really important was team, having a team and building that out and working together. What are some things that you've realized are really important in terms of building out that team, looking for deals and getting things operating and so forth?
Yeah, I'd say you can learn a lot through other people's experiences in education. One of the things that we've come across a lot is property management, finding property management, and what it takes to get good quality property management to execute the business plan that we have for our investors, for ourselves. And that was one of the reasons to go big quickly. When we went into Augusta, Georgia, we had 2 transactions, a 70 unit complex, a 75 unit complex. We put them together, had 145. And then when you have that type of scale, you have access to property management. It was on a whole different level, right? It's completely different than bringing them 12 units and being one spoke in a wheel of 1,000 units that they're managing. I mean, for them, for that type of thing and execution, they're just looking for plug and play, right? It's just like, you're just going to fit in. Here's our systems, take what you can get. And we've talked to a lot of operators who were feeling the pains of that, and kind of like almost so much to where they were the property managers themselves. That's not something that we have the capacity for. We would need to hand this off to someone who has way more than of us or our partners combined in commercial property management, and who we can have faith in the execution. I think that was a big part in all of this, but thankfully it's not something that we had to learn and go to the property management university ourselves. We had the scale from an asset that was generating enough cash flows where we could hire the professionals to take care of it. That's really important, because you have to take care of your tenants. You have to take care of your asset. It is a full-time job. That property management puts staff in place on the property. Your people are everything. The people that you hire to execute the plan are everything. So when you think about us managing 800 units now, we'll be at 800 units. It's not us on site with the wrench, opening the door for the tenant, answering the call. It doesn't look like that at all. With that scale comes operational leverage, and that operational leverage is personnel on the ground. And we look to hire the best of the best to make that happen. Just like you would in medicine, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
you have to know what to outsource a little bit and know what your specialty is and when to ask for help. And so it is very similar to that.
Absolutely. Well, and everyone's afraid of getting started investing in real estate and getting that 2 a.m. phone call that they got to go plunge a toilet. So, you have the right people in place to take care of that for you, and good property management's key. And it's just another piece to that relationship. Property managers often know what properties are coming up for sale and can bring you more deals. And so there's a lot of ways that having a good property management team can really benefit you. And not only, of course, taking good care of your property and tenants, which is most important, but have you found anything in particular that you guys look for in property management? Like, is it folks that have like handyman on site because you guys are at that scale? Or is there anything that you've noticed that's been really beneficial from a property management perspective, managing this many units?
For us, a good referral was key. We have one person who does all the hiring, training, and systems, and that one person had 20 years of experience herself, and now she because we have enough scale, we're at 800 units. She no longer needs to work with operators. She can work just for us.
She hires what? One on-ground personnel per 50 units?
Yeah, that's right. Every 50 units requires a person. So we typically are buying at 100 units where we'll have one maintenance person on site and one leasing agent, property manager on site. And then she'll oversee that. And that property management relationship came through networking with other multifamily operators who, you could call them your competitors, I guess, but we're all sharing information, best practices. Again, those are relationships that can save you so much like money and heartache and things like that is just working with other people and communicating with other people and being close to them. It's like we're being of service to them, sharing our underwriting, looking at their underwriting, sharing what's like, oh, do you know of a leasing agent? It's like, yeah, we came across this candidate. Here's her CV. Give her a call. It's like we hired someone else, but she was great.
Yeah.
That type of thing. But good communication, showing your business plan, asking them realistically, what are their assumptions? Can they execute your business plan? What will the communications look like going forward? That sort of thing that you'd want to know before joining forces, because scrambling to find a property manager when one quits or just doesn't show up or that happens so often and always happens to operators in that 12 to 30 unit. I hear that story over and over again when we do these meetups. It's sort of like, I had this person and what have you, but
having that local person has been key to help us with like the rent projections, for example, or, we come up with a number and she says, no, you guys can go even higher. Look, I know this property over here is doing this. And she's actually kind of helped in that way too. Yeah. So they know a lot more on that front than, we do here a couple states away.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I forgot to ask, where are you guys located? Where are you investing? You mentioned Augusta. Any other locations in terms of investments?
Yeah. We're all of our multifamily have been in the Southeast. So Augusta, Charleston, Mount Pleasant, Savannah. We're very active in Savannah, Georgia. We've looked and are considering opportunities right now in Dallas, Texas. That's where we live. Okay. We're building another team here in Dallas to do the same thing. A lot of competition in Dallas. And again, the networking with the brokers is key to the access. So once we find a deal that's good for us and good for our investors, we'll move forward to Dallas as well.
But we like areas that have inward movement, has a good stable economy, where people are moving to, where there's good, it's landlord friendly. So we look at those types of things as well.
That's great. Yeah, I was going to ask kind of what do you guys look for in a market? So you answered that. Is there a specific kind of population number you're looking for, or really just, hey, we just want to make sure people will continue to move here, like we're seeing in the Southeast, Florida, Texas?
In order to invest from afar at a distance, the population really has to be in that 100, 300,000 kind of as a minimum. I wouldn't want to go smaller than that because you'll have trouble finding resources unless you really know the people that are there. I mean, we've been deals come in front of us with, in these tertiary markets of 50,000 ish. And it's too big of a risk because we don't know the people who are going to, like the contractors, for example, property management. I mean, you almost, sometimes there's not a property management company. You have to build it yourself, more or less. So we're staying in the markets that are larger. Those three markets, Augusta, Savannah, and Charleston, Mount Pleasant, do that for us. And they check all the boxes. Low unemployment, we can check that. Landlord friendly, very important to us. We'll check that box. They didn't do weird things in uncertain times like eviction moratoriums and things like that. So we had certainty there. The insurance is still accessible. So that kind of put us out of Florida for the most part. Yeah. And they're high growth markets. Like there's continual good news. A lot of those cities are port cities with not only high rent growth, but employers are still moving there. Plants are being opened up there. And it's helpful to invest in cities that, at least for our purposes, that people can recognize or are familiar with. At least they've heard of them. right? Because when we start looking for partnerships on the capital side for people to participate with us, invest alongside with us, it's an easier bridge to cross when they've heard of, oh yeah, that's where they play the Masters. It's like, yeah, that's right. Savannah, I've heard of that. How is it? Oh, it's the fourth largest port city in America. And that's helpful as well, at least for us.
Yeah.
The downfall to be in those markets is it's more competitive, right? And it's harder to find a deal there. And because of that, we do know people who go back to tertiary markets. Maybe they're in Oklahoma or Ohio, where the deals are more accessible, but maybe the long-term growth isn't as attractive. But there's a deal there, right? And when you're doing a value add deal, and maybe it's only a three-year hold, you can make deals work there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you guys typically look for in terms of a deal? Are you looking more for value add? Are you looking more cash flow play, appreciation play, a combination of all the above? What does a deal typically look like for y'all?
Well, that is the beauty of multifamily, right? It has each of those components. We want certainty. So that's the value add component, right? Mm-hmm. There's two ways we can get a value add, and one is through improving operations. The other is by making a lot of renovations. We focus on the operational value add plays. Nice way of saying that we find an asset that's being neglected or mismanaged, or the eyes are off the prize, out of state owner, just collecting checks, has been for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Or it's someone who is there, but trying to do it all themselves, and maybe they're a little older and having a hard time keeping up with all the maintenance orders and stuff like that. So they're kind of...
So we call those mom and pop.
Yeah.
Mom and pop owns. We find a lot of do-it-yourselfers out there doing everything themselves and have been for 30 years. And now they're 70. I mean, you can kind of imagine what that looks like.
Oh, yeah.
There's units that haven't been turned in 20 years, and the rents haven't been raised in 20 years. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
Not joking. Yeah. That 145 units that we bought in Augusta, Georgia, the average rent for these one bedrooms was $550 in a good neighborhood.
Good area, yeah.
A one bedroom for $550. A year later, with these operational improvements and now work orders are being taken care of, tenants aren't being neglected, we were able to command rents of over $1,000 a unit.
Wow.
And that's with pretty light turns on the upgraded maintenance. I mean, appliances and fresh paint. We're not doing heavy lifting type of renovations.
Yeah, and that on the renovation side, that looked like that was about $5,000, $6,000 a unit. Mm-hmm. But we have the right people there, right? Mm-hmm. We have professionals in place, not a do-it-yourselfer. When we took over, it was sort of like, well, if you're going to raise my rent, I'm going to start making sure you fix this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, of course, that's what we're here for. Right. We're here to give you a decent place to live. That's our minimal obligation to the market. And so if we're looking for those, we're looking for those big operational value add where we can increase the income or the efficiency, the operating efficiency of the asset. That's one that's been neglected and it's been under the same ownership for 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, a bunch of different levers to pull in multifamily, which is really cool, all to add increase NOI and increase the value of the property, which is great. Do you guys tend to hold long-term, or do you typically do like a 5-year exit? How are you kind of lending on these deals and funding these deals and so forth as well?
Yeah. So we will typically, we can use a community bank, and we get, I guess, we play it safe on the financing side. We've never been big risk takers. We're not one of the players that went for the adjustable rate bridge loans, pressured timelines, like where we're forced to refi in a year. We've used fixed rate financing on all of our deals. Mm-hmm. A lot of them have been interest only for 3, last one, 5-year term. We're about to do one that has a 9 years fixed rate.
Wow.
At 4.5%.
That's awesome.
That's because we assumed the loan. He refinanced it a year ago. That's an agency debt. And our preference is the tax favorable preference in real estate, which is the big play, is that refi. We do that value add. That's that forced appreciation, not the speculative play where we're waiting for the market to give us a return, right? We're looking at rents that are 500 that should be 1,000. That goes right to the bottom line. That's that forced appreciation. That interest-only financing gives us cash flow all along the way. We look to do a refi in that 2-year, 3-year period. And if the market isn't there for us to do it, like the capital market's not there for it, we're not forced to do something. We're financed for an intermediate term. We'll consider options to sell, but we need to get capital back one way or the other, back in the hands of investors, right? The sooner we do that, the more profitable that investment is, the higher the returns are. And the rate of return is the speed at which our money is multiplying over time. That's that wealth that we're all creating. But we're getting cash flows along the way. We're forcing that appreciation, not through speculation, but through certainty. And then we're leaving ourselves plenty of exit options. We like that refi because when we do that refi, we take that capital out of the property, we distribute it out to investors, and that's a tax-free distribution. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Like that. They really like that.
Yeah. As
Including
opposed to a sale where you would pay a capital gains or something like that.
Yeah. Because then you can take that and you can shave a little off the top, do something nice. You can put it back into something else. You have a lot of options with that. And then that's how the conveyor belt keeps going.
You're taking your capital out, you're reallocating it into another project, moving forward. Then all of a sudden, over 5 years, you have 5 cash flow producing assets that are all having liquidity events now. And those liquidity events are for most are the original size of your investment. It's a big deal. So not only do we have those things that we weren't getting in single family, we got the refi play. You get that. You don't get the cash flow. It's not really cash flow. If you do, you send your maintenance guy out, replace a washer and dryer, your cash flow's gone. You're like, oh man, I was making $50 a month. Fine. You don't get that. But the other thing that we get is very attractive to some, but not all, is the tax benefits in multifamily. There were tax laws that were passed in 2017, 2016 that favored real estate investors and real estate professionals in a huge way. Now, if you're a W-2 and that is your only source of income, it might not be beneficial to you today, but an investor that's investing $100,000 with us gets accelerated depreciation or bonus depreciation that we do. We do this thing called a cost segregation study. We send in these engineers, they parse out the assets, and we capture the depreciation in year one. $100,000 invested got $60,000 of tax loss, a depreciation loss that you might be able to utilize. Now, if you have a practice, right? If you have a medical practice and that's passive income, you get to wipe out that passive income with that depreciation loss. It's a big deal in commercial multifamily that we weren't getting in the single family side. Now, if you're a medical professional and you're married to a tax designated real estate professional, you get to take that depreciation and wipe out your personal income. It's not tax advice. Your tax professional will tell you all this stuff. Not me, but these are the things that people are utilizing. And if you can't utilize it, you get to carry that loss forward for 30 years and use it and save it to when, that's when you start having those conversations with a tax professional. It's like, hey, how can I start taking advantage of all this depreciation loss through these multifamily investments that I've made? I've invested $300,000. Now I have $150,000 and that I'm carrying forward. Like, how can I capture that? Maybe you're investing in another business, and that business is generating passive income that you can offset. And now it's like, okay, great. I'm not paying taxes on any of this stuff. It's kind of like it's a secret that no one talks about. And I don't know why anyone doesn't talk about it, but we're like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah. I think a lot of people just don't know. I mean, I didn't know, right? I mean, 10 years ago, I never knew any of this.
Yeah, well, it's how the rich are not paying any taxes, is doing that. And, the short-term rental loophole is another way too. We have some short-term rentals and did a cost segregation study on that. We were able to, offset our taxes on the income from the property with that, which is great. My wife is not a real estate professional, but I've been trying to talk her into it. So we'll see. I'm sure it's of great benefit for y'all And do you mind
Yeah.
kind of talking a little bit about what real estate professional status looks like and kind of the benefits? Of course, we hit on the tax benefits, but not a tax accountant by any means. But do you guys mind kind of talking on the benefits of that, or why someone would be interested in doing that and what that would look like to get real estate professional status?
Yeah. Oh, what's your wife's name? I have a feeling this is a message directly to her, right? So I'm gonna,
Stephanie. Yeah, exactly. Stephanie, are you listening?
Stephanie.
Stephanie, listen to this. This is why you need to get your license. And it's a tax designation. There are qualifications to meet it. You're going to have to meet a minimum threshold, so many hours a year. It gets, there's a lot of people who have a W-2 and want to start doing real estate activities. It gets a little dicey when your income is coming from another source, but you want to get real estate professional. That's when it requires not only hours, but logging hours, types of hours, and meeting that minimum threshold. A tax professional can walk you through what that looks like and how to go about doing that. And once you get that designation, you can take advantage of the investments that you're making to offset personal income. I achieve that easily because it's the only thing I do. I'm only in real estate. I don't have any other sources of income, and it's all actively managed stuff and it's sales stuff. So I'm 100% covered. I know people who are trying to achieve it with a W-2, but that's when you start logging and you start detailing exactly where your hours are going. Sometimes that can be, you can capture those hours managing your own investment properties. But again, it's like, how are those investments classified? Are they second homes? Are they investment properties? Are they in LLCs? What type of management activity? What do those hours look like? Went through a whole thing with another tax professional. It gets pretty detailed, but it's doable. That's a conversation if you want to go down that route, that's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. We had Amanda Hahn on the podcast. She's with Keystone CPA. She's been on Bigger Pockets and wrote a book and so forth. And she talks a lot about that in her episode of how to get real estate professional status, how to use the short-term rental homes for accelerated depreciation and taking advantage of that as well from a tax perspective. And it's really cool. And folks don't realize just how much money you're paying in taxes and how much of an impact it can make to get that money back in your pocket, especially for high income earners like physicians for the most part. So yeah, absolutely. Right. Francesca, how has investing in real estate impacted you practicing medicine, and how do you balance practicing medicine, being a mom, and real estate, your 3 full-time jobs? How do you balance all that?
Yeah, well, it's definitely an interesting question because when you say it out loud, it's like, wow, that's a lot. That sounds like too much, but actually it relieves some of the, I don't want to say stress, but it relieves some of the maybe pressure sometimes that's put on medicine to be high producing, to, see X numbers, to do this, to do that, where I can really just focus on, doing good for my patients, paying attention to detail, of course, and spending time with them. But I don't feel that pressure because I know that over here I have this other thing growing that I'm going to be fine with. And so it makes me really be able to enjoy my day job more and be able to focus on it more as well.
Absolutely. And probably gives you a little bit more flexibility, spend more time with your kids and spend more time with Ryan, I would imagine, as well, having that passive income coming in from real estate.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, it will eventually for sure. But
yeah. Absolutely. Well, kind of pivoting back to the Cashflow Capital Club, do you mind kind of sharing with folks a little bit about that and kind of what does it look like to invest with you guys? What does a deal look like to invest with you guys and how that process works?
Yeah, I mean, it started very organically. Like I said, when we first started off, we were kind of on that passive side, and then we got invited to be a part of a deal. We kind of were just talking with friends and families about it, and we realized that people wanted to invest and be a part of it. And me personally, at first I was kind of shy about talking about it because it's like, oh, no one wants to hear about what I'm doing on the side. But then the more I did, the more I realized, like, no, this is something that people do want and want to learn about and potentially be interested in. And so then once we saw how enthusiastic the people that we knew and loved were, got them involved, and then we just kind of snowballed from there, where then they're telling their brother-in-law and their colleague, and then we're just getting more and more people calling us. And so we kind of said, this is something not a calling, but it's a way for us to be able to, let people know and let people in on something that we wish we had been invited on 10, 15 years ago. It would have been nice. Would have, could have, should have. But yeah, so it's a good way for us to share that with people.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a sense of duty. And it's like, you don't want to think yourself as like, in a way, it would be selfish not to do this. I mean, we almost have a moral imperative to not only share what we're doing from an educational perspective of, here are the steps and this is our journey. This is what it looks like. But we also have an obligation to let people participate in it that are just like hungry for this stuff. I mean, and mortar, something you understand, certainty, cash flow, like, decent returns. And because most people, including ourselves, only have access to Fidelity and Vanguard and that different smorgasbord of investments. And then single family space takes a lot of capital to buy a single family home in a decent, high appreciating area. Yeah. I mean, those homes, 3 and 4 bedroom, $1 million in California and in Dallas and in Scottsdale, where everyone wants to be. Now we can get you all the benefits and more certainty, more cash flow, higher appreciation for 50 grand, 100 grand. That's what it looks like to invest with us. I mean, that the first opportunity that we opened up to our friends and family, we raised like $4 million in 72 hours. I mean, it's just like, whoa, okay. Yeah. It was like, okay, there is a huge market for what we're doing. And we need to let people know that everyone can participate with us in these, assuming we all share the same goals, right? We're long-term investors. We're not quick flip people. We like certainty. We don't like speculation. And
we lay it all out. I think that's one thing that people have feedback that they appreciate compared to maybe some other things that they've seen is that we go through he's got all these Excel spreadsheets and, the deck of what exactly, and people can get as much or as little detail as they want on that. And we're an open book where, there's nothing to hide here. So people like that, especially people that have that bug and maybe want to try to do something on their own. They kind of can, what do we call it? Learn and earn,
get started. You can see, I mean, we're accessible. My investors have my phone. They can call me anytime. We can fire up, share a screen, walk you through underwriting, walk you through the landscape, and I'm accessible. People know us, right? We have a direct line of communication with our investors. I would say that investing with us looks like a little boot camp or webinar at first because we want you to understand everything that we're doing so that you're in it for the long term, right? And you understand what we're doing along the way.
Yeah. So we want to make sure that the goals, are aligned.
And we want our investors to share in the enthusiasm and the excitement of each deal because then that allows them to open it up to their personal network, not only for themselves, but all of us together. And we're achieving greater things in this network that we've put together than we ever were by ourselves, doing everything by ourselves, the do-it-yourself approach, where it's like, it's me, my Excel sheet, and my realtor, and we're going to go out and conquer the world, where it's like, we've built something that we wish someone would have invited us to like 20 years ago when we were starting and like how all this works.
And we can't make these deals don't happen without partnerships and investors. And, on our side, we're finding those deals and have those broker relationships and stuff. So it's very symbiotic, we feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like we've talked about a lot tonight. It all boils down to relationships, and networking and partnerships. And that's key to success. And it sounds like has been key to success for you guys. A couple of questions I have. Want to be respectful of your time. What do you think makes physicians good opportunity? Or that's not even the right question. What do you think makes a physician a good partner for investing in a deal like this? Or why do you think a physician should invest in multifamily properties or real estate in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good because a lot of physicians still want to practice medicine. They're not quite ready or able to retire or get out. Yeah. And they're looking for ways we work hard, many hours, right? We've put in a lot of time in this. And then you have little chunks of money where you want to be able to do something meaningful besides, I mean, you can buy fancy cars and do that type of stuff. But eventually, it's nice to put it into something that's going to grow and continue to grow on its own. And so I think a lot of physicians like that aspect of it. And then being able to do it sort of without the headaches of worrying about that 2 a.m. call from not your landlord, your tenant type of thing. And just being able to have it as more of a passive thing is definitely really appealing to a lot of people, not just physicians, but any professional that's working full time or, or someone maybe who's working part time, but wants to have their own free time. So I think it's very appealing. And then there's the 401, the self-directed option that people can take advantage of that a lot of people don't know about. And so that's another way that they can get involved.
Yeah, the people who have IRAs, 401ks, Roth IRAs, there's an easy way to self-direct those funds and put those into real estate investments that are not your own, managed by others. That's like kind of the stipulation on it. And people have access to capital that way. Also, we've talked to fellows and residents who haven't quite got their career started, but they have a fair amount of money sitting in some fund. They have no idea what's in it, right? All they know is like, oh, it went down a lot this year, went a little bit up this year. I don't even know. I'd rather put this in this cash flow producing. But to hit on your question, I see all the hours and the stress that Francesca's job puts on her already. To add the stress of an Airbnb operation or, a fourplex or a triplex where she would be getting phone calls, not only from a tenant, but even a property manager. It's just like, that's exactly what physicians don't want, right? It's like, I want to put my money to work in a smart, intelligent way in an asset that I understand, but I want to focus and reduce stress, not add to it, right?
Add more work. Yeah.
So, yeah, and real estate is great at doing that. Not only, but we're also creating generational wealth. We're also creating a family business, many of us, in this real estate space that can be passed down and utilized not only for us, but it's going to take care of us and our families and our kids for many generations.
Yeah, it's so cool. Generational wealth is an incredible thing. Definitely something we're working on too. We have a 2-year-old son, Jack, and thinking about that a lot on, hey, what's his future going to look like? And is he going to take over the real estate business or go into medicine? Yeah. Right now he wants to go into medicine. I'm trying to talk him out of it, but we'll see. Yeah. He's 2.5, so we got some time, but yeah.
Our son wants to be a truck driver, so.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Monster trucks or 18-wheelers?
Yeah, the bigger the better.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, maybe you can buy like a big storage lot, parking lot, self-storage, and store the trucks there and go from there.
There you
go. What have you guys found, as husband and wife working together in real estate, what have you guys found that's been key in your guys' relationship working together? And what's that look like if someone wanted to get started investing with their spouse? Any tips or tricks for them?
It's good to have separate roles. He's good at the numbers, the details, the explanations. I'm kind of good at the networking and kind of explaining it that people can understand, sometimes a little easier. And so for us, we have lanes and we're pretty good at staying in them. I mean, we can pitch in when needed, but I think it's important to have some of that delineation as well.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think us working together does something that we couldn't achieve alone or being siloed. First, it was just my thing, me doing my thing. And then I communicated to Francesca, listen, if you did this, this, and this, that's all you need to do. And those are things that I can't do. And she can also articulate it in a way that I can't. I go to this numbers thing, Excel. I start spitting out ratios and nomenclature that no one understands.
And I go like this, time out.
It's like, no one knows what you're talking about. Wait, what do you mean? Where did I lose you? Like 2 hours ago. Let's start over. So it's good from that perspective. And it's fun. We've always done our separate things professionally. She never understood the world of finance that I worked in. I don't have a clue of anything in medicine that she does, but now we're working on something together that we both understand, and it's benefiting our family. So it's super fun. Very appreciative of being able to do that as husband and wife, as a couple. I recommend it, but we're not stepping on each other's toes by any means.
Yeah. No, it's been fun. I think if anything, we've grown from it. So.
Absolutely. It's so much fun now, kind of having my wife on board a bit. The same thing. It was originally kind of my own thing I was working on the side. And then she owns a photography company and has done some interior design work and really likes that piece. So then that's where short-term rentals came into the picture, because then she could, do that aspect of it. And that really got her interested and involved. And it's just so much fun having your spouse involved in real estate. Now we've pivoted towards assisted living and she's not involved at all in that, but that's okay. She knows what she likes. But yeah, it's been really fun having her on board. And I think, it's just been such a game changer for me just to know that I have her support, but also can call on her if I need any help. And there's definitely things she's way better than me at, for sure. So great to have those complementary skill sets, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, wrapping things up here, like I said, I want to be respectful of your time. Where can people reach out to you if they want to know more about the Cashflow Capital Club or want to connect with you guys?
Yeah, so they can go directly to our website, which is www.cashflowcapitalclub.com. And there you can learn all about us. There's a link we can connect, do a face-to-face, and that's probably the best way.
Yeah, go to cashflowcapitalclub.com and request an invite right there. And that will at least start giving you exposures to some of the activities and deals that we do. And it's completely up to you how deep you want to get into it. I mean, you want the full boot camp seminar, happy to give that to you. If you just want to look at things from afar, that's fine too. But just make sure you go up there and sign up.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll be sure to put a link to that in the show notes. Is there anything else you guys have to say? Anything else we missed before we wrap things up here?
Yeah, the important thing is get started. Just get started. You're not going to learn it all in a day, a week, or a year. Get started as an investor. Even if you have long-term ambitious goals of being an operator and being where we are today, we started as investors. We started small with what we could, and then one thing led to another. But the important thing is take action and get started.
Mm-hmm. I think it's easy to get stuck in that analysis paralysis phase, which honestly, I was in that as well. And you just have to just take that leap of faith. Doesn't matter where, who, where, just do something. And then it moves from there.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you guys looking back on it now probably can't believe, that initial action piece that you took originally got you all the way to where you are now, and probably way faster than you ever anticipated or expected as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, keep doing big things. Again, thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
appreciate
absolutely. It. Awesome. Well, with that, it's been Ryan, Francesca, and Alex with another episode of the Physicians and Properties podcast. Signing off. Hey, real quick, if you're still listening to this, I'm assuming you got value from it. So I need your help specifically. My 2-year vision with this podcast is to help 100,000 physicians learn how investing in real estate can give you the freedom to practice medicine and live life how you want. There are 2 main ways that a podcast grows. One is through ratings and reviews, and the other is word of mouth. If you can please leave me a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as send this to 1 to 2 friends that you think would get value from it, we can reach the physicians that we want to reach. Thanks in advance, and talk to you on the next episode. Please note that the information shared on this podcast is for informational purposes only. It should not be considered financial or medical advice. The views expressed on this podcast are those of the host and the guest and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Department of Defense or the United States Air Force.